possibility of something happening. That's the definition of chance. Speaking of chance, remember that one chance you had but you didn't take because you were too nervous, or scared, or embarrassed? Yeah, me too. I still remember back when I was 7 and my dad took me to an amusement park for the day. Once we got there, a certain attraction enthralled me. I was captivated. The issue? I was too scared to go on this humongous, high-speed, horrifying roller coaster. I mean, it was so large and it just loomed over me, daring me to ride it. And I mean, I was tall enough, so there was no reason I couldn't go on the ride, but I'm not that much of a daredevil. I mean, it was just way too big, and I heard all the screaming coming from the kids who were already on the ride, and I just couldn't build up the confidence. You know, I still regret not taking the chance to go on the Great Pumpkin Coaster, formerly known as Little Bill's Giggle Coaster. Looking back at the experience now as a teenager, I realized how dramatic I was being, and how Little Bill's Giggle Coaster isn't really that big, or that fast, or even that scary. But to 7-year-old me, oh, absolutely terrifying. But fear is subjective and it varies. Everything does, in fact, which is why we just have to take chances. But even the definition of chance varies depending on who you're talking to. So, I don't know how many of you remember back in about 2015, 2016, when everybody on the face of the earth was running around doing dumb things screaming YOLO because they wanted to hashtag do it for the gram. When we were all going and searching, what does YOLO stand for? And getting the result, YOLO is an acronym for the saying, you only live once. What happened to that? What happened to us taking risks? To us going for it? To us not fearing what other people think because YOLO? When was the last time you heard someone say YOLO? When was the last time you said it? When was the last time you did something you were scared to do because you know you only live once? We should go back to that. Less dangerous, obviously, but still, we should go back to that. We should go back to not being scared. I mean, it's not like now we can live 2 or 3 times. We still only live once, so we should live like it. Going back to the definition of chance that Google so kindly provided, chance isn't something we can control. It just happens. Yet, I believe that we can control certain aspects of chance. But we need to recognize whether it's a chance we want to take and whether it's worth it. The chances I'm referring to are outcomes that do have a risk factor, but you prepare for and work towards increasing your probability of receiving a favorable outcome. Or you weigh the risk versus reward. Is an unwanted outcome a high risk factor to you, or is the least wanted outcome not that bad to you? Those are things we have to think about before taking a chance. Sometimes the saying high risk, high reward is true. Sometimes it isn't. Here's an example of a time when it isn't. So last month, I had my midterm history exam. I had always gotten an A in history, so I wasn't worried at all. I mean, our teacher told us about the test and gave us a study guide. I filled part of it out during class, but then I just went about my day and put it to the back of my mind. By the time I got home, completely didn't think about it. I figured I didn't want or need to study. That was a risk I was willing to take. The risk of failing my test, I felt was worth the reward of much-needed leisure time. The day of the test, I'm doing my typical frantic cramming, trying to memorize everything on the study guide 1 period before the exam. I took the test, and let's just say I didn't do too well. Sorry, Mom. Oh, and did I mention it's 44% of our grade? Yeah, that's an example of a risk that didn't produce the wanted outcome. So going back to the story I mentioned earlier, when I was 7. Little Bill's Giggle Coaster had me quaking in my boots at the thought of it. But that experience helped shape me into the person I am today. Now look at me up here giving a TED Talk? Like, seriously, you can't tell me this wasn't a crazy chance I took. I mean, when I first saw the advertisement for this, I thought about it and I figured, well, I think I'm qualified and I think I could give a pretty solid talk. But just because I think I'm qualified doesn't mean the judges are going to think the same thing. Nevertheless, I filled out the application, took a chance on going to go interview, and I got an email saying I was selected to be a speaker. I like to think that little Lexi is looking at this moment proud of how far she's come from the girl too scared to go on the giggle coaster to the teenager giving a talk for the world to see. So, I've been up here for a while, I know, but although I'm sure you'll remember absolutely everything said today, just in case you don't, please remember this. We can't always control what chances we'll receive, but we do know that we should, 1, weigh the risk versus reward, and 2, go for it. If the reward seems greater than the risk, take that chance. Because remember, in a sense, being scared then is what made me brave now. So, I challenge you all to think about, what's the roller coaster in your life? Are you going to take that chance? Are you going to fill out that application? Are you going to ride that roller coaster? I know I am, because, YOLO. Thank you.